Four.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
Hey,
What's going
good
on,
What's
people.
up,
fellas?
y'all? What's going on?
How's it going?
It's going good, man. Sorry, I was distracted. Trying to look up the score for the game. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Which game you talking about?
San Francisco 49ers
Uh-oh.
and the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, Dallas.
Yeah.
Is this the
Yeah.
bowl today?
No, this is just the beginning of the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
So,
About to
in
say.
Dallas and the 49ers have always had a long-standing rival for some time. So, yeah, it doesn't get any better than this.
Should be a
Hmm.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But other than that, go ahead, Jake.
I got invited to a bowl party this
Oh,
year.
did you really? Did
Yeah, one I
Did you
You
haven't
go?
been
going?
to before. No, it hasn't happened yet. Has it? To a bowl party this
Oh,
year.
they got some
Yeah,
feedback. Y'all
yeah,
hear
I'm
that?
on team.
Is it gone?
Yeah, it's gone
Uh,
now.
Okay, we cool.
it wasn't me, was it?
What
That
was
was
it?
me. That was me.
Oh,
Oh, you were
I
trying
was I
something
was
different?
I was watching our video on YouTube at the same time.
oh,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
delay. Okay.
Hmm. But yeah, that's good, man. Make
How
sure
was the
you get
week,
some
fellas?
nachos, Jake.
No, I hope it's good food there.
I hope so too.
How was the week, fellas?
Oh, my week was great. It was nice and quick.
Yeah,
Nice and quick, huh?
Very busy at work. It's been
Okay.
extremely busy, so it makes the
yeah.
days fly by.
And how many days are you going in person?
None right now. Right
Oh,
now, I'm
okay.
just remote. I'm sure by next month, once I get my glasses and things, I'll be. They're trying to figure out a schedule for everybody to be in the office at least one day a week. Everybody has
Oh, cool.
somebody. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Everybody in the
Yeah.
office at least one day a week. So once my availability changes to be able to get to the office, drive and whatnot. So
Hmm.
still waiting on those glasses, and we'll see. But right now, I'm 100% remote. And right now, I'm sitting at where I work from to do the podcast.
That's cool. I
Cool.
mean, that's what most people do now. They don't move
Yep.
very
All
far
right.
from their regular cohabitating space. Jake, how was
Yeah.
your week?
My week was pretty good. Man, it was a lot of sunshine this week.
Oh yeah, for real.
Happy about that. It was cold, but when I see the sunshine, though, that always give you a good feeling.
Hmm. There's been
But
a lot of sunshine. A lot of sunshine.
yeah, I love it, especially in the
Yeah.
winter because it reflects off the snow and the light in the house is brighter. So I
Yeah, it's
feel
true.
good. Other than
It's
that,
true.
I've finished a couple paintings, which
Oh, did you?
yeah, they turned out pretty nice.
Good. Did you
Yeah.
sell them already?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Hopefully, but a lot of interest, a lot of people like them. So
Yeah, you do good work, Jake.
I appreciate it.
Definitely. Yeah. So my week, pretty nothing much to tell. Busy,
Mhm.
busy. Same token, and you have your highs and your lows. Tore
Yeah,
through it. Here standing. All is good. All is
That's
good.
what we want to hear, man. All is
yeah,
well.
Yeah.
exactly. All is good.
Definitely.
All is well.
So, we are actually in a very special, important weekend,
Yeah.
holiday weekend.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
So,
is.
yeah,
Holy
yeah,
day.
so we kind of wanted to, do a piggyback off of last week's topic, which you talked about legacy, and
Mhm.
Hmm.
so this week we kind of wanted to talk about legacy and what is your life's blueprint. That's the title of the show tonight. What is your life's um, blueprint? And we're more so talking about famous people. What was their blueprint? Jake, really, you kind of spearheaded this whole idea. Just kind of going over maybe a few people, and we'd be remiss if we did not put in there my favorite, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr.
let's,
Martin.
let's
Dr.
start.
Martin Luther the King.
Yeah,
Martin Luther
yeah.
King. The
The
King.
King.
Yep.
The King. Yeah, that's the man. He will always be the man.
So
Always.
let's start off with this quick video. I hope everyone can hear it, and we'll chime in on it.
We've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. Nothing would be more tragic than to stop at this point in Memphis. I want to thank God once more for allowing me to be here with you. I left Atlanta this morning and then I got into Memphis. And some began to say the threats, or talk about the threats that were out. What would happen to me from some of our sick white brothers? Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will.
Mm.
And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over. And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you. But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just felt that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can feel it, can't you?
Yeah.
That was good, man. Hello. We have a comment there. I just want to acknowledge. Hello, Selena. She says, "Good evening."
Good evening.
Good evening.
Our good friend and follower.
Great topic, fellas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lady Sugar. So yeah, that's one of my favorite speeches from Dr. King as we are celebrating his holiday this weekend.
Yeah.
His birthday was officially yesterday on January 15th. But some law was put in place that the third Monday
Yeah.
is the only day that can recognize holidays like Dr. King's, past presidents, that type deal. So that's why it's celebrated on
Oh.
third Monday of January, which is in this year's case is tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
on the 17th. So yeah, and I just had to slip him in there because I definitely say when it comes down to legacy, without question,
Oh,
without question, man. And I know he's the one facial figure that was always put
Yeah.
in our heads when we were growing
Yes.
up as kids. But it was pretty much the same stuff, man. I didn't hear that speech until I think I was in college, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I learned about a lot of other speeches that he wrote for president and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's just so much information,
Yeah.
hidden eggs, if you call them, in his speeches, especially that one right there, the mountaintop speech.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I just kind of
definitely.
wanted to. Go ahead, Nate.
How long or how soon? What was the time frame of that speech versus when he was killed?
One day, the night before,
The night
Okay.
before.
Wow.
April 3rd, 1968.
Yeah.
Wow.
In
It's like he
Memphis.
had a premonition, huh?
You know,
Like
well,
a-
he said,
Mm,
if you heard him say in his speech, he said that he had had a lot of threats.
Yeah.
a lot of people were saying what was going to happen to him. And then that's when he went on to say that he wasn't fearing any man.
Right.
Because pretty much his focus was, I mean, if I can just kind of jump off into what I see his legacy as being.
Go ahead,
His
bro.
legacy to me was he was willing to sacrifice whatever he had to move us ahead. Not totally complete the mission, but to move us ahead or position us to carry on with accomplishing what he was trying to accomplish.
Right.
So and he, and that's why I had to sit back and think about it, man. He gave, I don't want to say he gave up his family for, the civil rights movement,
Yeah,
but he sacrificed a lot, man.
Yeah.
he did.
Sacrificed a lot.
And you're right.
I'm sure his family was. He didn't give up on them, but I'm sure that they felt his absence during all the things that he was doing and involved
yeah.
in.
Yep. And most people, well, I think this is what, I think the quote that we ended on last week was something to the fact of every day you're pretty much
You're writing your legacy.
You're writing your legacy.
Yep.
Each day, yeah.
Yeah, each day you're writing your legacy.
Yeah.
So I think he was conscious of that. And most people would say, you know what? I'm getting threatened. People shooting at me. I'm been thrown in jail. Been bit by dogs. Water holes down. I'm done with this, man. I've done all I can do. I've taken it as far as I can take it. But he truly took it as far as he could take it to death.
Right. And I think that's what he was saying in that speech. I've taken you all as far as I'm going, as far as I see me going. But keep going, because I've seen you going to make it. If I don't make it with you, is what he said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what? He is like the face of civil rights movement in this country anyway, this nation,
Yep.
because, I mean, who else do you automatically think of or see
By
when it comes
default.
to that?
Yeah.
Dr.
But
King.
Even though there's so many more and others that
many more.
contributed,
Yeah.
but it's like he was a spearhead, for it.
But some people even started to argue that point, Jake. They
Mhm.
would say he really wasn't the person that started the movement.
Right.
It was Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
I saw people talk from a point of
Yeah.
it's like they were kind of frustrated by that, bothered by it. It's like she didn't get the shine that he got.
Yeah, she didn't get the
Right.
shine. And
Well,
wasn't there somebody else that was on that
I mean-
on that bus that did something like similar to Rosa Parks, but Rosa Parks got the shine that the other girl didn't?
Say that again, Nate?
So wasn't there somebody else that did what Rosa Parks did,
hmm
but didn't get the shine that Rosa Parks got because Rosa Parks was supported by NAACP and MLK and all that kind of stuff?
Wow.
I did
hadn't
hear
heard
of
that.
another woman who didn't
Yeah.
move
Who
back.
did it first? Who did
Yeah.
it first? Yeah.
Yeah. But see, Rosa, okay, she did the initial act, but the movement, it was his actions that took it, on into
Right.
where it went, brought us
Yeah.
where we are today.
That sparked the decision to start the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of other things going on before she remained in her seat. But it was like he was there during that time, and that really, he took notice of that. So let's put this into action now.
Hmm.
Wow. So I mean, so when we talk about the legacy thing, about blueprints, my opinion is I really think that when you talk about leaving a legacy, it's really you take out the selfishness of yourself, of what it would cost, what you got to give up,
Mm-hmm.
and and whatever it is that you're working on, it's a cause that's actually going to impact the people that's left behind. It's going to generate something that's going to actually not just put a dent in things, but actually, start a movement to continue on to accomplish people are accomplishing things now in the black community that they would have never been able to accomplish before.
True.
That sometimes take for granted. they take for granted.
Yeah. And if you notice, each of his children continued his legacy, his life's work. You know,
Yep, they sure did.
each one
Yeah.
of them, including his wife. So that was his legacy, continuing on.
Yeah. Hey, I saw. 'Cause I remember last year. I don't know why. I don't know why we didn't talk about him last year when we did the show. But I remember I had. I think it was my daughter. I think
Hmm.
it was her, I'm not sure. But one, I think it was HBCU for sure. I know that it was HBCU college. Not that I think I know it, but somebody sent me a flyer and was advertising a party at one of the HBCU schools last January during the Martin Luther King holiday. And they had him on the face of the flyer talking about, come and shake what your mama gave you. Just paraphrasing it. It was something derogatory like that. And they had
Oh.
ML King in his classic pose with his finger on his cheek. And he had a
Yeah.
big cable, big chain around his neck, like
Oh,
rappers wore back in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
there was,
seen that.
a butt in his face.
Oh,
What?
no.
Yes, man, yes.
Dr.
And
King.
Dr.
Oh,
King,
man.
and it's like that's the mockery. And I've been out in public when I've seen like hoodies where people designing their own hoodies now, and they may have him or Malcolm X dressed up.
Mhm.
Where I even saw Rosa Parks, sitting there holding a machete on the bus,
Oh, wow.
like she wasn't gonna get up. So it's almost like these people kind of paved the way
Yeah.
for what we're able to do now.
Mm-hmm.
But yet in society we're mocking it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
how is
seen him
that?
with a do-rag on.
Like tied up like the gang rag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. A yellow do-rag on Dr. King.
See,
I was like, wow, really?
not cool.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's how far they are removed, these younger generations, from civil rights, the actual movement.
Right.
They,
Because if they had an inkling of what
Yeah.
life was like during the time that he was most prominent, they
yeah,
probably would make light of his image or Malcolm's image or anybody else's image.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
So
because it wasn't a laughing matter, during
Exactly.
that time.
it wasn't. But not just the younger generation, man. I'm thinking it's just a whole marketing piece, man. I think that you even got some cats that are in our age group that if that's their thing, where they're into marketing and they have that type of business,
Oh,
they
wow.
they know what sells.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about it, man. People would much rather retaliate with brute force and violence because of
Mhm.
all that was done back in the day to get to where we are now. And there wasn't enough retaliation in some people's mindset, and you have some people that probably who they were close, family
Yeah.
members were close to living in that era or whatever, and they heard about it firsthand, and it affected them firsthand. So now they're probably trying to move the needle, trying to say that Dr. King or Malcolm X should have been more violent, or Rosa Parks should have been more violent to retaliate. I mean, that's just where we are. I mean, let's face it. Even when you look at Jesus,
Mhm.
people would like for Jesus to be a little bit more hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I've heard people say.
Yeah, I've heard people say that too.
They
Yeah,
say he
soft.
could have been.
Yeah, they say they could have been hardcore. They're looking for him to be more militant. That's the word, militant.
Oh,
And
man. Man, couldn't nobody step to Jesus.
he had too much mouth for him. Jesus had that mouth.
Yeah, he cut them up with words every time.
Yeah, but it's something about them hands.
Right.
Yeah, people want them hands.
Yeah, people want them hands, man. That's what they prefer. It's like we're really doing something now because we're fighting back. We're not being a punk. We're not being pushed
Right.
around.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the thing. And then to think that, look at all Dr. King accomplished with nonviolence.
Exactly.
But then in a day where we are full of violence, is
What does that
nothing but
accomplish?
death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not accomplishing anything.
Mm-mm.
I tend to agree that he could have been. I felt he could have been a little more aggressive
Yeah.
in some of the things that he was trying to do.
Hmm.
But not like walking down the street killing white people, of course.
Mm.
But yeah, I thought he could have been, a little more aggressive. Sometimes the peaceful message that isn't always heard, but you cannot deny the results.
Hmm.
You can't
Yeah.
deny the results. Here we are in 2022, and these people that we talked about that desecrate his image and make a mockery of our civil rights leaders. They get to do
Yeah.
that because of the work he put in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
True.
saying?
Yeah. So he's
True.
an open target. That's what you're saying.
Well, I mean, anybody's open target, but my point is, if not for the work for us to achieve a certain level of freedom in this country,
Hmm.
for us to have rights recognized, equal rights across the board, we get to take him for granted because he put the work in that he put in and made the sacrifices that he made.
Hmm.
We get to take him for granted because of the results of what he did.
Right. That's something. You said we get to take him for granted.
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy?
We're not still sitting in situations where we're deferred to certain areas that we can only congregate in, or certain restrooms that we can only use, and we're not
Right.
still under the thumb of Jim Crow and all this other kind of stuff. So because of him and the people like him during that time, getting civil rights enactments in government laws passed, whatnot. We kind of enjoy the fruits of all that labor,
Yes.
and we're in a position now that even though we might not understand what they went through, we can make our own
Yeah.
decisions and statements about it now because we have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, just playing devil's advocate now, wondering. It's a real question. I'm not just playing devil's advocate. It's a real question.
Mhm.
Do you think that all that a person, I'm talking about the famous people now that have built up or carried a legacy, do you think their legacy can be tainted in the sense that it doesn't have that same, I don't know.
Man, in
Same
today's
weight.
society,
Go ahead, Jay.
it depends on it depends on who we are as a people. Because if you just sit back and look, you can name all of our black icons,
Yeah.
all the black people who have made history in our time.
Mhm.
Dr. King, Malcolm X, Michael Jackson, Prince.
Hey, I got one for you, and this is why I started going there with this question. I just came across an article about Colonel Colin Powell,
Yeah.
Okay.
and they're saying that his legacy is complicated. And I read through the article, and the reason why they're saying that is because Colin Powell did not stand up. He kind of diverted the conversation about race.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like people feel like they really don't want to give him, that medal of you before the people, because he really didn't stand out there like your Kings and your
Right.
Malcolms.
Like,
And,
he wasn't-
but yet he accomplished so much.
Right.
He was in a leadership position that I can't think of any other prominent black person.
Are they saying he wasn't pro-black?
Yeah, he wasn't. It sounded like they're saying he didn't do enough publicly
Yeah.
and vocally to
Mhm.
promote black causes and civil rights causes.
Right.
And so, go ahead, Nate.
I was gonna say I talked to a local guy here who has a very prominent position at the university, and he got some similar criticism because they say he didn't use his position to promote and further, black causes on the campus. and the university, and to be a, be a spokesperson or a model for black causes. And his reasoning was he's been given a certain group of individuals to be responsible for on campus.
Okay.
He has a lane, and he believes he's best served helping those people that are in his lane. He doesn't believe he was called to be a vocal activist. Yeah, he wasn't called to be the forefront person for black issues on campus. He's been afforded the opportunity to touch some lives that in his department, and he does all he can to touch those lives, and hopefully those folks will leave his hands and go do similar things as they grow and further themselves in their careers and whatnot. So what do you think about that? Colin Powell was the first black man to hold the positions and things that he did in government and the military.
Yeah,
but maybe he felt like that was his lane, and he wanted to make the impact in his lane, in his area that he was in, rather than be, the face of social reform issues for black people.
I got a comment.
Go ahead.
It was a comment that was just sent to us that Colin Powell did things behind the scenes, pretty much.
And he did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, and that's what I like about him. He didn't need the fanfare. He didn't need the spotlight to do what he was doing. He just he didn't care whether he got that or not. He was making moves for our people.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not everybody's lane to be out front, showing showing that, and everybody. That's why we have no known leader now that's really doing this for us. Like
wow, Jake,
Dr.
that breaks my heart to hear you say that, Jake.
Jake said that.
It is heartbreaking, but look at it.
But it is, yeah. Cause, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have a King or a Malcolm anymore.
We got Kanye. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Thanks for joining us all. We'll see you next week. Man. Wow. No, you didn't.
Oh my goodness.
But that brings up an interesting point about the legacy. You asked the question, what can a legacy be tainted? I mean, all that we know that Colin did in front of the camera, behind the scenes, whatever. He made a very big impact in his world.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide if his legacy is tainted or not? His naysayers, or does, like I said earlier, the results speak for themselves?
Okay.
Right.
Well, when people, just from what I observed, when people start chirping and talking and just running their mouth and being judgmental, and it's almost like, here's my thing. For all the good that you do, all it takes is one bad slip for people to just judge you to the point where they just don't remember anything beyond or before that moment of slip up.
Right.
So, case in point, I shared with you guys, I was given some misinformation. I'll say that. And I shared with you guys how I never watched the movie Selma. And I told you guys why I never watched the movie Selma, because I was told that movie really showcased just how much of an adulterer that Dr. King was. And I just chose not to see him in that light. Not trying to make him perfect, not trying to make him Jesus.
Right.
Because all of us, if you were to follow us home, if you were to really dig through the nooks and crannies of our lives, I'm sure you would find something.
Right.
Especially, all of us have been college students. So, we had a wilding out period in some way. So, when people started chirping and talking like they were going at Dr. King about he was an adulterer, he cheated on his wife all the time, he wasn't all what you think he was.
Right.
It's not people personally telling me this. I heard this in the media.
Yeah.
About his character.
Exactly. The media.
So that's to answer your question, Nate. What determines that? When people start going at the person. This is my.
But does that get to damage the legacy though.
It shouldn't.
Someone's
It
opinion.
shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. It
It
shouldn't.
should. It should. We have a comment here. It says my best friend has a picture with Colin Powell when he came to Howard. He walked around freely, talked to us students, gave the commencement address, and he was a kind, approachable man.
Yeah,
Well, that's
And that's a statement of legacy within itself.
it is.
Exactly.
It left a memorable impact on those
Yeah.
people who were touched.
Yep.
Right.
So they'll forever see him that way unless some big thing come out, big scandal about Colin Powell, which seems to happen often when we have legacies. But
Yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad
it's unfortunate,
because it does happen. Unfortunately, we combine what people do, the good people do, with the mistakes that they make, and nullify all the good they've done because of the mistake they made.
yeah,
And it's not fair, but it happens.
right.
It happens. People, these people are human beings, just like you and I are. We're human beings, subject to the
Yeah.
same pitfalls as any other human being.
Yes.
But when you're in a spotlight, when you have a platform, people expect so much more of you,
That's not fair.
and it's not fair. But it's just the truth. It's like
It's
being
not
a
fair.
pastor. Being a pastor, you're held to a different set of standards than anybody else,
Hmm.
Yeah,
and so you can't. You're not allowed to make a mistake because that mistake then taints everything that you've done before the mistake ever took place.
exactly.
Right. They like to equate the mistakes to where they are, but can you match them at their accomplishment level?
Ooh, come
No.
on, Jake. Come on, Jake.
So
Wow.
Got a comment. We all fall short. That is so true. So
Yeah.
I'm rolling through the city yesterday. Beautiful sunshiny day.
mm.
Car clean, and I must admit, I was rocking some Ursher.
Some Ursher.
Ursher Raymond.
yeah,
And I was,
Ursher.
listening to, I was listening to his Confessions album, and there's a remix that he has on his song for his song Confessions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys that was on the song, it was like a cipher. They were all jumping in, doing different lyrics, doing different rhymes. And one line that stood out to me yesterday, and I thought about it when we were talking today, the guy Shine, he's a rapper. He said, he came on and said, I never said that I was perfect. Nobody walking on this earth is. And right there, that line is just so powerful, I think, because that really captures the reality of
yeah,
us as being human. I don't care what platform you hold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how big your name is. Now, granted, yes, we would all like to, if we have demons and addictions or whatever, it'd be nice to work on those things.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But the same token, that's a work in and of itself in progress.
Wow.
So what would be your advice to a person who's alive and has left a legacy, or is in the process of leaving a legacy, that has a moment of indiscretion or makes a mistake or whatever the case might be, has a human moment, and the public gets hold of it and tries to then vilify that person and destroy all the good that they've done? What do you say to that person?
Kick rocks.
Come on, right?
You want some of me? That's what I was
Mm-hmm.
saying.
I mean, what do you say to the person that made the mistake that's being destroyed in the public now, whose legacy is now being tainted? What do you say to that individual?
And forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously though,
Right.
you can't allow.
Mm-mm.
You can't put yourself. Oh, there's a statement I haven't said it in a long time, but I will say to different people. You think more highly of yourself than anybody else does. You just don't realize it.
Oh wow.
Yep.
That's good.
You think more highly of yourself than anybody else does, but you just don't realize it. So that because you're covering things up and you worried about if they find this out, if I fall, what's gonna happen? Man, really, people don't really care. They're actually probably waiting for you to fall.
Yeah.
So you just need to get over it and deal with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and keep it moving. Keep being the person.
Keep it
who's right.
moving.
Get up
Yep.
and keep it moving.
And if that's already happened, give it some time. It'll blow over, and people will
Right.
be on to the next thing.
Mhm.
Exactly. Now I'm not saying be a repeat offender
Right.
or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, if you have an issue, I know you
Yeah.
don't want. No one wants to air their dirty laundry to the world.
Right.
The world will have access to it because again, we know all the mockery that would be made.
Yeah.
But just hey, just tell it and get over it. Get over it and just be done with it.
Right.
You know, another
Even if
statement that I
it's-
have is I'm always tell my dirt before somebody else because they will always embellish it.
Mm.
Oh yeah. They definitely will.
They definitely will. But then
Yeah,
there's some
true.
things I just choose to be silent about.
Right.
Mhm.
Not gonna fight it. Just let those who
Yeah.
know me know.
Just keep doing the good work that you're doing.
That's it. Because
That's what I would tell people. Yeah.
usually they're dredging up something from 10, 20, 30 years ago anyway,
Yeah.
while you're doing good right now. So
Mm-hmm.
Because the
They're
key
trying to tear you
question
down.
is, does anybody
Mhm.
go to that person who made, like you said, they fall, and does anybody rush to their side and say, what happened? What caused
Mhm.
this? How
Right.
can we support you? No,
Mhm.
they
They
bounce
just
on
go,
it.
oh look what he did, look what he did, look. That's all they do.
Yeah.
That's how society does us now.
Yep. You're the new spectacle.
When you said that, Nate, I thought about being in high school, and I know my high school fights used to jump off
Oh,
all the time in the hallway or in the classroom, but more so in the hallway.
big time. In the hallway.
And you see people circle around, and it's just taking too long for that fight to start.
Mhm.
You have that instigator. That's what I'm calling society. They just go ahead and push that person to the other person. Then it's on.
Then it's on.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's how society is today.
True.
They just want to, push it over the edge, over the ledge, and then
Mhm.
get it going, get the gossip going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that's what I would say to our legacy makers, man. You know, be they family individuals who just working on leaving a legacy for their family, be they, people that trying to leave a legacy at their job, or if they're like famous people in the spotlight,
Mhm.
just keep on doing the work.
Yep.
Keep
Yep.
on doing the work. And when the naysayers pop up, work a little harder.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Mhm.
found somebody was doing a story about Dr. King's life, and I found out they said that these were the fears that Dr. King, these were some of the fears that Dr. King had when he was alive.
Okay.
He had a fear of failure,
Mm.
Mm.
the fear of being called an imposter,
Wow.
the fear of rejection, the fear of not being good enough.
Mm.
So, I mean, come on, how many people privately haven't had
Oh.
some of those same things?
Those are pretty common fears.
Everybody we know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to some degree, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, the thing about Dr. King, in spite of those fears, it looks like he moved forward anyway. You know,
He did.
It's like he faced those fears, and the Bible says to be courageous. When God called people to be courageous,
yeah.
he said, "Do not be afraid, but be courageous instead." Face those fears and move forward anyway. And that action always cancels out the influence of the fear.
Mhm.
So I think he lived his life as an example of, facing those and trying to overcome those with action and good works.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
obvious.
Obvious.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that speech you just played, man, he
Yeah.
like you said, Jay, he was a premonition. It's like, almost like he knew something was coming.
Yeah.
In spite of the threats.
Yeah.
In spite of all that was going on, he said, "I'm doing God's will."
Yeah.
I want to live a long time. Everybody, it'd be nice to have longevity has its place. But I want to do God's will.
That was
Thank
like a
you.
Dr.
Yeah.
Mike moment before Dr. Mike even
Yeah.
became popular.
Yeah, he should have dropped the mic on that in that speech instead of just walking away. He
That's
should have
what
been
he said. Yeah.
like, boom. That would have been sweet. But
Right.
yeah, man, he faced those fears, man, and you know, unfortunately, you know, it cost him his life, but
Because I seen him in newscast last night. I was watching something, a documentary, and they showed him once on the news, and he was like, "I've been hit and kicked so many times, I'm almost numb to it now. But the work must go on, you know."
What
Yeah,
kind of
man.
drive do you have to have, man, to push through all of that adversity and never quit?
Element
Yeah.
of love, man.
What an example.
That's the element of love. That's it.
Mhm.
That's
And
it.
being
Yeah.
spat on.
He wanted to get to there was a reason behind his drive and his push.
Yeah,
He wanted to see, equality. In
equality.
his speech, he said something to the fact that he wanted to hold America to their promise of
Yeah.
what they said they were going to give everybody.
Yeah.
So that was the drive.
Mhm.
But behind that drive would not have reached the plateau that it reached had he not been able to love
Mhm.
and just forgive
Mhm.
all the people that were just coming at him and his attackers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
people that was threatening his life, threatening his family. I mean, at some point you would think like, okay, a person's gonna snap and lose and be like, I'm done with this. But again, the only way he could control all that, it had to be a bigger drive in him, man. That he saw
Yeah.
the bigger picture, like he said in the speech. He just wanted to work for the Lord, man. That
The
required
word.
a lot of taking down and forgiveness. And not saying he didn't have his moment behind closed doors, saying, "You see what they did? Come on, Lord.
Oh yeah,
Come on."
I'm sure he did.
Right, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. His life was a type figure of Christ
Hmm.
to a large degree, especially with the love factor. The love was what drove him, is what his why was. This is why he did what he did, because he loved his people
Yeah.
and he wanted to see them in a better place, and like you said, to hold America to his promise. And so
Right.
that superseded everything else.
Supersede everything else.
Yep.
All
As
about-
great as-
That took him to his cross.
Right. All about equality and peace. And
Yeah.
even in that speech, he basically made himself a type of Moses, bringing his people out.
Oh yeah, Moses
You know?
too.
and
Yep.
didn't make it to the promised land.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good, Jake. You know, and
But you
if I
don't
think
get that.
if you think about it, man, if they were to really show open the lens of the people that were standing behind him, it wasn't just black faces, man.
Oh no,
Right.
it's multicultural.
Yes,
That's it.
And the reason why he was able to recruit, or people were volunteering for the cause, is because they saw that drive and that they saw the love beyond the drive
Mhm.
Yeah.
that this man had, the gentleness that he had on the inside. And I
Exactly.
guarantee you, if he was popping off, at headquarters, and which I'm pretty sure he did with his inner circle. We all have our
Mhm.
inner circle of people, but he made sure that when it came down to what the point and purpose was, we're gonna
Right.
all display the same thing: the united front, love,
Mhm.
peace, forgiveness, no retaliation, none violence.
Mhm.
Right.
That's gonna be our stance, and they got behind that, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got behind that.
But
I
and
think
we
that's part of
we lay claim to him, but he wanted equality for
Yeah.
everybody.
That's
all
true.
all people. So
Mhm. I think that's why his legacy is
we
More
just
so than
need it
maybe
more
some-
than anybody.
yeah, more so than some of the other civil rights leaders in history. I think his is more embraced because he did reach out to everybody,
Mhm.
and he saw all kinds of faces, behind him and supporting him and pushing him along and praying for him and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, and Malcolm started having a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he didn't see it his way at first,
Right.
but he had his moment when he started, seeing the bigger picture.
I think
Yeah.
they both started to get each other in the end.
They did. There's
Mhm.
a picture of them smiling at each other, shaking hands or
Mhm.
something. And people, history did not want us to know about Malcolm's change because before recently, I would say before Spike Lee's movie, we had Malcolm X still in that yeah, he was still that militant, hard driving, not for equality, just pro black
His
kind of
statement
person.
was, by any means necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
But
Malcolm's
then
statement.
later on, he was for everyone because when he did his pilgrimage or whatever, he saw a difference, and so he came back with that. But they didn't even want that to come forward. Because I remember in school, we didn't learn about Malcolm like we did Martin.
Right.
Malcolm was like hush hush, and
Because plus Malcolm was Nation of Islam or Muslim,
yeah,
and so the American values don't support those that
Right.
organization or that religion. So he wasn't about to get no billing, no top billing.
even with his change,
Right.
Mhm.
This is a good old Christian nation, so we're not about to hype up no Muslim.
Sure,
That was their thinking. That's why we didn't learn about him in school.
yeah,
Unfortunately, because he had a lot of good things to teach us about society and promoting black causes. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
right.
Yeah. So here's my question.
Hit it.
So, we're considered old heads now. And well, we are. We're at that state now where we really should be reaching back and teaching those that are younger.
That's
If
true.
they'll listen. If they'll listen. So my
Okay.
question is, a lot of times we sit back and we look at the way things are going now, and we shake our heads because it just seems like it's a disappointment. So are we really missing the fact that there could really be some people out there that's really reaching, our children's generation, and we're just being such a stickler because we saw how it was done when we came up. Not that we lived Malcolm X days and Martin Luther King days, because they were gone before we got here, but we read about it. They gave us the history.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But our kids today, they don't get that history, so they have to look for what they look for. So it may not look like people that we know, the heroes we know.
Right.
So are
Right.
we just being sticklers and being old heads? What say of you guys?
I don't think so because they're who they were thinking.
Jake is one. These young folks ain't gonna catch no break.
No, what I'm saying is these young people, they were looking up to like your Nipsey Hussles and Tupac and all of them. It's more of the hip hop game that they consider leaders, and that message could be here or there.
But that's a good point, Jake. It could be here or there, but you think about it. You said Nipsey. I'm glad you said Nipsey because that's an easy one to kind of play the devil advocate with, because Nipsey left. He bought up a community.
Yeah.
With his earnings, he actually established a community in his old neighborhood. He didn't, get the fat pockets, and run and couldn't be found or seen anymore. He was still present. He was still pulling up in
Right.
the parking lot, shopping in the local joint that he shopped in before he had a deal. And he left something for people to still go to work. To my knowledge, it's still up and running.
So he's got a legacy.
He has a legacy. That legacy it came about in a different way
Mm-hmm.
than what we're used
Yeah.
to.
These are different times, and people have social media. They have musicians, artists that
Right.
they look up to. We had a conversation offline about do we have leaders now that we like like Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X, like Marcus Garvey, these guys. Do we have these now?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that we do like them.
Yeah.
But I'll
like
tell you
that.
this: I've got young people in my family that when George Floyd stuff was happening, that went out to marches and protests.
Okay.
Something I never did
Right.
on more than one occasion. And so somebody's motivating and inspiring them
Hmm.
to get out and try to make a difference, to let
That's
their
good.
voice be heard. I don't know who it was. I didn't ask. I probably should have. But somebody or something is getting them motivated to try to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so just like King and others in that time got people galvanized around the cause and had them marching across bridges and facing dogs and water hoses and beatdowns and jails.
Yeah.
Somebody in this time is saying, let's get up and let our voice be heard. Let's take action. Let's go out here and protest. Let's go out here and picket.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said in our conversation, I think there needs to be a face
Yes.
that the nation or the world
Yes.
can see and get behind. I think we have like pockets, like regions, and you got people here, you got folks there, you got folks there. But I'm not sure that we're pushing the needle to change like a Martin Luther King did. But it took him some time to get there.
Yeah.
And it took him some time to get that Civil Rights Act, in play. It took us some time to get to the president's office and talk to him.
Yeah.
So, but somebody somewhere is motivating young people to go on social media, go out in public and protest some of this stuff. But I don't see an individual or a group of individuals that are leading the cause out front for everybody to see.
Yes, for all ages.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
the young people do have their who they consider leaders.
Yeah.
But our age group, I think Dr. King's, and we were kids during that time, so we didn't realize how young they actually were. They seemed older to us,
Mm-hmm.
but they were younger than we are now.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and I think they made it possible that we 70s kids, we didn't have to do all that marching and fighting and stuff, because that was our time of advancement, the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice throughout history. So it's like, because we didn't have to do all that, maybe that's where the leader got kind of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So now younger people and our kids and their kids are seeking something different.
Yeah, I'll say, and remind me, 'cause I don't want to forget, we just had one of our listeners send me a person who was before Rosa Parks. I'm going to give that name before we get off the air, because we're coming to a close now. But with that being said, you said they're doing something, looking for something different now, Jay. I think
Yeah.
now it looks to me, what's heightened the movement now for this generation
Yeah.
is all of the killings and the shootings and
Yes.
and so to me, when we talked about last week, we talked about our own legacy and just regular people and family. This week we talked about famous people. Well, your George Floyd's and I'm sorry, I don't want to call out any other names. I'll make mistakes and say the first name right but the last name wrong. But all of the different recent shootings that we've that have gone to trial within the black community, those people that have been fatalities, who've lost their life senselessly, they, sadly to say, those are the famous people that are leaving a legacy now in the eyes of this generation, because I mean it's happening so much, so
The
often.
martyrs.
Exactly. So this is who they're looking to now. This is who they're marching about. This is who they're wearing their name across their chest or their back. This is the cause that they're ready to, strike blows about.
So it's like history has repeated with them in a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
I'm
think
not
about the
trying
black.
to drink from the water fountain no more. I'm not trying. We ain't worried about that. We got that on lock. I'm not trying to, vote and all that kind of stuff. My thing is stop shooting. That's their call, their move.
Yeah.
I have this, here in town, in my city, a group of artists did a mosaic over a bridge, and on the front of a bridge as you drive under it, and it's all these different black faces of, just people, and they're supposed to be people in the community. But one of these faces had a great resemblance to George Floyd.
Is that right?
Yeah. And a girl here, a Caucasian girl a young lady, happened to see it, and she made a Facebook post about, like, we should not be glorifying a known, whatever his crime was. And do you know, people came out of the woodwork for her.
Oh man, come on now.
On that
I'm sorry.
post.
This is not right here. Trump ain't president no more.
Right.
Sorry.
They didn't let her have that one, huh, Jake? They didn't let her get away with that, did they?
Oh, she closed her whole Facebook page down.
That's one thing. That's one thing that people do on social media now.
Yeah.
Is when you see somebody that's egregious with prejudice or discrimination or racial stuff.
Yeah.
They come for you now. They will find your address, show up at your house with pickets and cameras and everything else, and call your job and get you fired. So they're doing things differently than what we did.
Yeah.
Or than what people in the King generation did.
Mm-hmm.
So the legacy is still being written,
Yeah.
as we said earlier, and so we'll see what comes of this generation and what changes get instituted. We had the Black Panthers back in the '60s and '70s, and
Mm-hmm.
their whole thing was police brutality and fighting against police brutality and protecting people in the community. And so we're seeing that again. We'll never went away, but we're seeing it more prominently now because of social media. And so we let's see what kind of changes take place. Policy changes, governmental changes. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah. They have to reorganize.
Okay, well, we are coming to the close of our time.
Oh yeah, that went
Fast.
quick. That went really
I always
fast.
enjoy hanging
Good.
with y'all and our listening
Great
audience
topic.
with comments. But I want to read this person's name, and while I'm doing that, Nate, you can get ready for the wisdom nugget.
All right.
Okay. So the person, and I thank you for sending this in to me. The person's name is Claudette Colvin.
Claudette Colvin.
Yep. Is an American pioneer of the 1950s civil rights movement and retired nurse. On March 2nd, 1955, she was arrested at the age of 15 in Montgomery, Alabama, for refusing to give up her seat to a white woman on a crowded, segregated bus.
Yeah.
This occurred 9 months before the more widely known incident in which Rosa Parks, secretary of the local charter of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, helped spark the 1955. So like you guys said, and I thank you again for sending that in.
Yeah, thank you. That was good
Kudos to our
information.
listeners.
Yeah,
kudos to our
appreciate
listeners,
it.
for us to be able to get that fact in there. So that was 9 months before Rosa
Right.
Parks. So so she just didn't get the spotlight.
Right.
Like, Rosa Parks. So that'll close out our legacy conversation.
Wow, that was a good conversation, guys.
Very good.
So Nate, I'll let you hit that wisdom nugget, and I will share what our topic is next week. Next week, and give you a close up.
Oh, Lord
Bruh,
have mercy.
The
Let's
wisdom
do it.
nugget. Go for it.
All right, wisdom nugget of the week is for those of you who might not recognize your level of funk. You might have put on the right guard, but please don't forget the left guard. Some of y'all be aromatic. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Lord. The right guard
All right.
and the left guard.
Don't forget the left guard.
don't
Right.
forget the left guard. Well, thank you for that wisdom nugget, bro.
Yes, sir. That's wise. That's wise. That's wise.
I would definitely be mindful of that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So next week we're going to launch talking about. Somebody thought it was funny. Right? Next week we're going to talk about friendship.
Friendship.
I would
What
love
about
for
my
everybody to
friends?
What about 'em?
or friends. Come on, Jaleel.
Right. How many of us
Many
have?
have them, yeah. So we're going to discuss, friendship, what goes into a friendship, what makes a friendship, the highs and lows of a friendship, because you have them. And I think we should kind of, be real about us, man, and some of the things that we have overcame.
Mm-hmm.
Share some, about us. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
us, what we've gone through. And 'cause there was a
Yeah.
period got a little dicey for a minute.
Oh yeah, man, we can talk about that. That'd be a good conversation too.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about friendship next week.
Friendship.
And everybody have a phenomenal week.
Thanks for joining.
Those things that are true, humble,
Yes.
pure, that are noble, and of a good report.
And don't forget,
If there be any virtue, if there
share,
be any praise.
comment.
Yes.
All right.
What is it, Rick? Like, share, comment, and what's one more?
Yes,
It's
one
four of
more.
them, right?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. That is.
Subscribe.
Dang.
Subscribe.
That's the big one. That's the big one.
All right. Peace out. Have a
Peace
good
out.
Peace out. Thanks, guys.